Welcome to Solid Concrete Channel, where you're going to get not only videos of experience as to what I've done in construction, but crazy stories, man, where you'll hear some sad ones, some crazy ones, where I'll just describe the type of people, what we do, what we have done, and what, I'm sure they still continue today. What I won't talk about necessarily is the jobs I've done every single day on how to build this, on how to build that. Like I said, I'm going to tell you about the experiences, the people that I've seen, the crazy stories that I've been through. So, without further ado, this is my first video. Hopefully y'all entertained. This is why I'm bringing this to y'all. Because some of y'all may think that construction workers were just a bunch of monkeys with tools. When in all reality, we've all got our stories. So, like I said, welcome to Solid Concrete, and let's get into it. So, before I started construction, I was doing valet, a bunch of bullshit jobs here and there, and it wasn't making me enough money. Now, back then, around 2010, 2011, minimum wage was like $7, $8, as far as I can remember. And so when I got the call from a buddy of mine whose dad was a superintendent at a marine construction company. Now, don't get it confused though. Marine means water, not the Marines in the Army and, military and shit like that. So a lot of times I'll talk to people and say, yeah, I've done marine construction for almost 10 years. They immediately go, oh, what part of the military you're from? No. What marine construction is, you build docks, seawalls, marinas, shit like that. So, like I said, before I got hired, the superintendent, my buddy's dad, goes, can you work 8 hours in the sun, 8 to 10 hours in the sun? And I'm like, yeah, fuck it. I need a job. I need to make some more money. Considering before that, my valet job was like $5, $7 an hour. And that was horrible. So when I told people I was leaving for 13 an hour, they were like, oh shit, you better go. So sure enough, I end up going. And a lot of things, a lot of people think that it's a simple hiring process where you go to the office, you sign some papers, you do an interview. Not necessarily with construction. A lot of times, they'll just say, yo, show up to this job site and meet with this dude, and he'll tell you what to do, and then boom, we'll figure out the paperwork later. Now, that may seem kind of sketchy, right? Because you can get hurt in the first job, and the next thing you know, it's like, hey, where's the insurance at? But in this case, that's how it was, It wasn't just me that got hired. A bunch of me and my friends got hired. Me, my boy Dylan, his brother Thomas, my boy Drew, so my boy Donnie. We were all cool, but anyway, we all get dressed up. I was fresh meat. Now, when you're dressed up, it's fucking hilarious because the guys will look at you like, who the fuck are you? What are you doing? Why are you dressed like fucking fresh meat? Literally fresh meat. Like you some sort of inspector or something, like you've never swung a hammer in your life. That's what I look like. I had a hard hat, fucking, the bright vest, and a flotation device, what we call, PPE. The whole deal. Shades, sunglasses, whatever. OSHA's poster boy. So, first dude I met was a crane operator named Rod. Now, he was one of the owner's, nephews or some shit. He looks at me. This dude's got a long biker-ass beard. You'll see a lot of those type of dudes, by the way. And a lot of them look scary as hell. But they're really a bunch of cool-ass dudes once you get to know them, right? So, buddy comes up to me and goes, man, you must be new. Look at you. Looking me up and down. And I'm like, what the fuck? But that's what it was, His shit had holes in it. He looked homeless. But he was a crane operator making bank. But regardless, there's a bunch of dudes you're going to go through. You're going to meet people like that. There are all types of dudes in construction. A bunch of type of dudes. You got the white, and it's funny because you'll meet a bunch of people, and a lot of times it's almost like high school or you kind of go to your tribe, right? But me and my boy, we didn't look at it like that. We were cool to everybody, but you'll see a lot of that type of shit where you got different groups of people. You got the white dudes, the Spanish dudes, the black dudes, and then you got a group where it's just everybody together, all the above, right? And I was part of the all the above crew. So, and that's what it was. That's how, my first day. But yeah, let's get into my first day. After I meet a couple dudes, everyone's a character, man. Let me tell you something. Everybody's a character. I remember I walked up to this other crane operator, and then I introduced myself. I tell him my whole deal. Hey, my name is Jonathan, yada, 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 blah, 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 blah. A couple minutes in, the whole time he's just staring at me, and he's like smiling. I'm thinking, the fuck? And then after I'm done, I go, what's your name? Yada, yada, yada. And he goes, huh? What? I'm like, what? And then I turn to dude, and then, buddy next to me, and he's like, yo, he's basically deaf. He can't hear shit unless you're yelling at him. I mean, what the hell? Because he's been doing construction for so long, not wearing earbuds. You gotta think, these dudes have been doing shit since the 60s, 70s, 80s. And I'll get into how this construction company started in the 80s down in Miami. So you know how Miami was back in the 80s and 90s if you know the history. So I'll get into that later in one of my videos as to how this company actually got started. You'll like that story, so tune in. But going on to my day, and I'm looking at him like, holy shit. So you'll see a lot of dudes like that. Dudes that can't hear. Dudes that can't speak because they got no teeth and shit because they stay dipping, or they got hit in the head with something and then they just never recuperated from it. You'll see a lot of those type of dudes. But like I said, my first day was just my boy Thomas breaking up the concrete slab and me picking it up and putting it in the bucket because we couldn't get a machine into the section that we were at. So I'm all day just picking up fucking boulders of rocks. And it was tough shit. I'm not going to lie to you. It definitely teaches you a lesson in a hard day's work. Man, that phrase probably came from construction. A hard day's work, where you're just you're doing construction, you're building train tracks, you're a farmer, whatever. That's where that term definitely came from. But let me tell you a story. So about the people that I meet. Right? So I'll give you a story about, we got a lot of guys out of town that get hired, subcontractors that can do a bunch of stuff that if something breaks down, they got to deal with it. They got their own insurance. They got their own mechanics. So in this situation, we were at Pier 66 in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So for those that know the area, that's where I was at. That was my first job. I won't tell you which construction company I worked for, just in case. But we met these dudes called the Country Boys. We call them the Country Boys because it was his dad, probably in his late 60s, and the two sons. And they were from the country, not from Florida, but from North Georgia or Carolina or something. And they owned the tugboat. So we use them all the time to hook up to these barges, which is this big-ass floating steel, how could I say, almost like a float, like a steel float, to put it into simple words, where you can put a crane on it, you can put all types of equipment on the water, and what keeps it steady is you have these 4 holes on each side, and you just put these metal spuds in it, and that just keeps you from moving, right? So, but anyway, I'm getting into conversation with him, and he just tells me something I've never forgotten ever since he told me this. Shit had me rolling. So he's telling me that, and these guys are funny, man. These types of construction dudes, everyone's always doing something, right? So these type of dudes, they drank and they smoke. So he's telling me that he had an out-of-town job. He goes, and he's always trying to find chicks. That's all these dudes trying to talk about. All these dudes is try to get money and try to get women. That's just how it is with a lot of these guys, right? So he's telling me, I went to the bar and I'm just talking to this one chick, we're getting into it. We're having conversation. We're at the bar laughing, joking, and I'm shooting her some shots, some alcohol. And we're just sitting there laughing, talking, and I ask her, let's go home to my hotel. Since he's out of town, a lot of times these guys get hotel rooms, motels, whatever. And he's telling me, yeah, man, we're taking our clothes off, we're making out. And the next thing you know, forgive me for, cover your ears, people, if you're a little kid. But he's telling me he starts sucking on her nipple. I'm like, okay, cool, normal. And he's like, nah, man, it tasted sweet. I'm like, what, is she pregnant? You know what I mean? Like you were, what? She got that milk? Did you milk her? Like, what happened? He's like, nah, so I'm just like still confused, and then we keep going at it, and then I go back to sucking her nipple again, and I'm like, and then it's still sweet. And I'm like, that's mad weird, bro. So he's like, man, so I got so like confused that I turned the light on. And what I saw was horrific. And I'm like, what? And he's like, bro, she had a giant blister on her nipple that I had popped with my mouth. And I'm like, me and my brother Dylan, man, I must have been dry heaving because I thought that shit was disgusting. The way he described it was pussy and almost like, bro, like green, like just nasty. So, and then me and him were like, did you finish? Did you leave? Like, what did you do? So he said something, like I said, he never forget. He said, boys, now forgive me, YouTube, but this is what he said. The only pussy you turn down is face down. And I'm like, maybe, but it made a lot of sense, right? Because a lot of dudes have turned stuff down, but in his mind is you don't turn nothing down. He told me he don't care if she's fat, black, don't matter what color she is, teeth, no teeth, age, anything above 18, right? But between 18 and 100, he didn't give a damn.